you say something? Just
Testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, 1, 2, 3.
Don, are
Testing.
you there?
I'm here. I ain't the famous here, you know.
Can you hear it, Don?
I can hear you,
You
yeah.
guys can practice the story
Okay.
now.
You're hollering at my ear.
Practice the story now?
Okay, that was a good
How are we doing now? Is anything coming through there?
Don, say
Huh?
something
You
funny.
gotta say something. Say something funny.
That's funny. And you're live.
Oh, okay. This is Don, number 13 in the family. I'm number 12. This is Russ. We're doing this for Sally. Good luck, Sally, on your 50th anniversary. I don't know why you would want any of these stories because you've heard them how many different times, but maybe when you get old and you have Alzheimer's or something, you know, you can play it every week and it'll be new to you. So, Don, let's start with telling your about the pigeons you used to have at 1034 4th Street.
Well, I'm 12 years old. I had about 300 pigeons, and I bought and sold them. Sometimes I'd sell them for 50 cents, and the homers would be right back in my coop 2 days later.
Wonder why.
They were homers.
Homer pigeons.
But I made a lot of money, and I was spending money at that time. That's about it.
How about when you used to go up in the church and hunt pigeons with Father in the church across the street,
By the theater,
St.
yes.
Joseph?
Yeah. There were some windows broken in the church. The birds got in that way. And he didn't want them pooping in the upper church. So that's what I was over 2 or 3 times, then I quit doing it.
With Father
Theodore.
Theodore. I thought you'd remember him.
Oh, yeah.
So,
That was that.
anything else?
No, what about the candy?
Yeah,
Well,
we'll
that's,
talk about the candy.
we get to that later, but then,
Okay.
I was trying to, as we go younger to older,
Yeah.
try and keep it in that, we ain't gonna do it, but let's give it a try anyway.
Yeah.
Memories
Well,
come
our school, when we lived at 1034 4th Street, our school was only across a vacant lot.
Used
On
to,
another
be,
street.
used to be a junkyard, yeah.
Yeah, there's a junkyard in between. And the junkyard had moved. So every time we went to the school, we had to cross that junkyard. But anyway, Don and I were going to race one time. The only time we headed for school was when we heard the bell. So we started running, and
We had just sharpened pencils.
I pulled him back. We were running side by side, and I pulled him back, and he had something to have a couple of sharp pencils in his hand. So he gave me the pencils in the rear end, and so I had to just turn around and run back home and have my mother pull out the lead in the butt, and then I went back to school, and I sat on one butt all day because it was so sore. But,
5 sharp
but
pencils.
I will pay him back for that.
You better hurry up, I won't be here long.
No. What else we got? Oh, well, when we went to Franklin Middle School, you know,
Yeah, junior high, yeah.
Mars, you want to come in here too? Okay. But anyway, we go to Franklin High School after Blaine School, which was a
Grade school.
elementary school, and we'd run home for lunch. And at that time, my dad was drinking quite a bit, and so my mother had to go down to the courthouse to get his check so she could buy some food to feed us. So if we get home, my mother wasn't there, no food, so we just run back to church and forget about lunch.
The school, I mean.
Yeah, school. Yeah, so that's one of our memories, yeah. And then one time we, being a poor family, the school handed out free tickets for the Barnum and Bailey Circus, which was held in the convention center downtown. And so we went to the circus, and
We were ready to walk.
on our way back we had a dime extra, and so we stopped into the candy store and bought some candy. I can remember it's in a white bag and folded it up nice. And we started home, and we got to Grant Street and 12th Street, and we saw some guys that we never did get along with, and they were heading the same direction we were. So I told Don, let's cut through this parking lot and we'll get ahead of them. We don't want any altercations because they usually beat us up anyway. So we're heading through the parking lot of winter, ice on the ground, snow and ice. So we're running like crazy trying to get ahead of this group of guys. And all of a sudden I slipped. I was carrying the candy. I slipped on the ice and right on my back. And I said, Don, take the candy. That's all we were worried about.
He was
That was
busy.
our dime.
He was busy with his hands rubbing his injuries.
So we did get home safe.
Didn't you go to school one day and the teacher declared a certain day or something?
While we were at going school yet, I forgot about that one. But
Shoes.
she came out to our house back when teachers were very, very concerned about their pupils. She came to our house only a block away, and she said, why aren't so-and-so in school? And my mother said, well, we don't have shoes for them. And she said, well, I can't do anything about that, but
Courthouse count.
have them come to school tomorrow. So my brother said, okay, well, I'll have them come. So we got to school, and
Barefoot.
the teacher says, class, I'm going to call you together here now, and I want everybody to take off their shoes and stockings. So it made us feel a little more accepted because we were ashamed that we didn't have shoes to go to school. So very good teacher, and I can't remember her name.
Johnson.
Mrs. Johnson, okay.
She made all the other students
Take off their shoes and socks, and so we'd all be the same. Yeah.
That was that.
And during we had a 7-room house, and we had let's see, upstairs was Dad's room was in the middle, and ours was on the far end. You come up the stairway,
Next to the bathroom.
and the bathroom was straight ahead, and ours was off to the side, and the girls were in the front of the house. So my mother was having bunco one night, and she told us to just stay out of the way. So we went upstairs to our bedroom, and a bunch of us brothers got together, stripped down naked, and
Threw me
as
out.
we heard that Mrs. Ralph, one of my friends, coming up the stairs to use the bathroom, we threw Don out into the hallway, and there was nowhere to go except towards my dad's room,
Towards the woman.
or the bathroom, where she was going to go. So he headed for Dad's room, and all of a sudden my dad's door opened, and a hand come out and grabbed him by the collar or whatever, by the shoulder, and it says, "What are you doing here naked?" And I said, "Well, my brothers did that, and they shoved me out in the hallway." So while he was out naked, she was in the bathroom and said, "Get in your room." So he tries to get in the room, and my dad is chauffeuring him to make sure he got in there before Mrs. Ralph got out of the bathroom. And he says, we opened the door, and after a knock, and said, "Don, what are you doing out in the hallway all naked? What's the matter with you?" I got even with you.
Was that the same party where you guys stole?
Different party, but same people. And
The hamburgers?
yeah, my mother had another bunco party. She loved bunco for the girls. And she told us get out of the way, except for Bob, who we call Butch. She let him help her in the kitchen and
Delivering hamburgers.
delivering hamburgers out to the dining room and so on and so forth. So at this particular time, we took the register out of the floor, and it was just a big hole. You could see the kitchen down there. So Bob was the only one in the kitchen at that time, so my mother was frying hamburgers. We told Bob, I said, "Put those hamburgers in abundance, and we're going to lower our basket, and you better put them in there, or you're going to get hurt. It's going to beat you up." So he did, and we had the hamburgers, and finally my mother came back in the kitchen to tend the hamburgers, which were on the stove. And she said, "Bob, what happened to all the hamburgers?" "Well, I don't know," he said. So, but we had our hamburgers, so nothing happened to him. He didn't get beat up or anything. So My mother couldn't figure out what happened to the hamburgers. So.
Whose idea was that? Was that Don?
No, no.
I don't think, I think we were all hungry, so I think it was all of our ideas.
Group decision.
We figured,
Good answer.
we figured Bob was in the kitchen so he could help us, or else. Oh, boy. Think anything else, Don?
No, not a fan.
Come on now. I don't want to do all the talking.
What about the grocery cart? Didn't you guys push the grocery cart around town and went around scavenging?
A wood cart.
Oh, wood cart.
Wood
Yeah.
cart, yeah. Don and I, well, at first we didn't have a cart. We'd pull it home on the railroad tracks. The 2 tracks, of course, and we'd put the wood on it, tie it up, and put the wood on the track and slide it home rather than carry it home. Then we graduated to a 2-wheel cart, which Don bought
For 75 cents.
from 75 cents for our neighbor. He had wheels about that big, and an open cart, and it was a good place to throw our lumber and bring back for
Firewood.
burning the stove. So then what happened?
We knew what happened.
We'd go hunting for wood, and it was right after school, so it was before quitting time for the guys that worked at these
Glass companies and so forth.
places that threw out their wood. And they all had loading zones, so you had a ramp on one end,
Rolling dock.
loading dock, and so if we went up and asked them, see if we could, I sent Don to ask him if we could have that lumber that was sitting on all scattered over the loading dock. And he come back to me and he said to come back later.
After
But
work.
in truth, the guy had told him to get out of here, get lost. So we come back later and stole it. So
You may want to rephrase that word,
acquired it.
Yes,
That's right.
this is all being filmed now, you know.
Uh-oh.
Documented.
Uh-oh.
Attached to it. We had a license though.
Oh, okay.
Hunger. And cold.
You know, back to our 7-room house, when the girls were working, and we had our bedroom, we were all slept naked, of course, we didn't have any pajamas. And
4 in a bed.
yeah, so
2 on each end.
we'd wake up Saturday morning, Sunday morning, whatever, about 6 o'clock, and we started fighting kick fights, and we slept 4 in a bed. So we had a lot of kick fights. There were 2 beds in the room, and 4 in the bed, and so then Dorothy would holler up. She was Mom's enforcer. Be quiet up there. We're gonna get some rest. And so we kept on fooling around, and finally she come up with a razor strap. You ever been hit with a razor strap, boy? It stings, especially when you're naked. And she gathered up all our clothes and took them downstairs
And threw the Sunday paper in.
and threw the Sunday paper in, the funnies, so we could keep quiet for a while so she'd get a little bit more sleep. And so. Don, I want you to tell Sally about the time you got Mom kicked out of the Roxy. We had a curfew, didn't we not?
Yes.
At 9:30 or something like that.
9 o'clock.
So we could always tell when Mom was in the Roxy.
Yeah, right.
They would laugh.
Yeah.
It was only one kind of a kind. So tell what happened.
Well, in order to go to the movie and stay after 9 o'clock, I had to be with an adult. Otherwise, you had to be 16 to be out after a certain time. And I went to get a drink out in the lobby. The drinking fountain was out in the lobby. I bent down to take a drink, and this kid behind me pushed me. He wanted to get a drink of water before I got one. He didn't hurt. He was later a fireman. But anyway, so I let him have one right in the mouth, you know. So then the manager came and broke it up and all that, kicked us out of the movie. My mother's in there. She goes out too. So he threw her out too, and she said, was buttered all the way home about something or about it. Kicked out.
Mortified. Mortified.
So that was it.
You didn't get to see the end of the film.
Yeah. But I will tell you that the fireman that kicked me out, that punched me in the mouth that night, he finally got killed in the fire later. So that, that's it.
How about our streetcar adventures? We had
The time.
girlfriends over in northeast Minneapolis, and we used to take the streetcar over. Real babes too, weren't they?
Oh, yeah.
Real babes. And
Anxious.
so what happened? We were done with our dates, and we were sitting there trying to get them to
You had a call.
let go of our hands because they, you know,
Yeah.
trying to say good night.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, they have what they call a 12 o'clock lineup. That's when you had to get on the streetcar. The last streetcar was 12 o'clock. If you missed that, forget it. You had to walk.
They had to wait an hour for the next one.
So that was it. We had to walk home for several nights like that.
From northeast Minneapolis
Yeah, right.
to home or on the north side. So
Yeah.
we did that more than once.
Probably just as 5-6
Those
miles.
darn girls just would not let us go.
That's right. You're watermans.
Yes, right.
Blame 'em.
Yeah, who can blame them?
That's right. So that's the end of that story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that wasn't Doris and
No. They were babes.
And better.
I think I seem to recall something about some wood sticking out of the basement windows or something.
Yeah. Well, first
Remember this
when
is being
Marcia and I,
recorded.
when Marcia and I lived out in Bloomington, I used to come and visit once in a while. He used to stayed with us for a while.
Mhm.
And he and I went to a movie in Bloomington. And on the way back, I had an old 41 Ford coupe, and the lights went out. The headlights went out. So here we are on Highway 100, going to Bloomington. No lights, couldn't see the road ahead hardly. So I got the bright idea of turning the turn lights on, and Don would stick his head out to the window and tell me if I was still on the road or not.
Tell him where the
So-
ditch was.
So he'd look out the window, and every time the blinker would come on, it would light up the road, and he'd say, a little bit left, a little bit right, a little bit left, till we got home.
I almost lost my voice.
That's okay, we got home done.
All right.
So we call a manual GPS system.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely, worked good.
How about the old Willis?
Oh, that, I used to have
31 Willis.
anyway, I was working at a gas station. And we didn't have a car. I took a streetcar from Hidden Valley, which we call the house in the hole.
Yep.
Everybody knows about that. And I bought a 31 Willys. And I bought it, and I come to find out I only had a brake on one wheel. And so every time I borrowed it to somebody, my brothers, be careful when you step on the brake, because as soon as you step on the brake, it'll make a right turn. Make sure that you're at that corner before you stop or try to stop. Put on the brake. So only one of them hit a tree, so that wasn't too bad. But, trying to get rid of that one.
So when you building a house next door
Yeah,
to the-
when we lived on 1034 4th Street across from the Catholic Church, to the left of the Catholic Church was a couple of stores, and they were old, and this particular one in the corner they were tearing down. And
Those days you took it down board by board.
yeah, they don't did it different than they tore it down board by board and want to save the lumber. And so they went this one on Friday night, and they went home for the weekend. And so during the weekend we got a bunch of guys together, and we tore the rest of the house down. Kind of helped them a little bit, and took the lumber and threw it in our basement, and in the basement window. And we filled up the basement, and the house was green. So the lumber stuck out from the window about maybe a foot and a half. And Monday morning the guy showed up to finish the job, and here it was done. And so
There was no house anymore.
no house. So they come, all the neighbors asking, you see anybody over there? And they go, no, they didn't see nothing. They come to our house, and no, we didn't see anything here. They looked at the lumber, green lumber, same color as the house, stick it out our basement window. But they didn't say anything. But we had a lot of lumber to chop up for firewood.
He's all winter.
Yeah, we used all winter. And this one, when Seal was going out with Nick Procherina, he lived up on the other block, about a block away from the other side of the street. He used to pick her up in a 36 Chevy, and every Saturday night for a date. Well, Seal made him get a bunch of us kids in the house, in the car, pardon me, and give us a ride. So that's before they went on a date. So this was a given. So every Saturday night we got a ride in Nick's car. So we used to go over northeast Minneapolis and all around Central Avenue and Lowry Avenue. And we come to this big sign, and what did this sign say, Don? Manly mattresses rest while you sleep. And then from there he would take us to a ice cream store, buy us a cone, and then take it home. But what a guy. Every Saturday night before he could take my sister out, he'd take his her brothers out for ice cream cone and a drive northeast Minneapolis.
Except when somebody passed wind.
What was that?
Except when somebody passed wind. We won't talk about that.
They didn't know who to accuse. He's looking at his boat now.
He wants to avoid that topic for some reason.
Yeah, right.
When Don used to, when we bought the lake, when Don used to come up, stay for a few days, he and Steve. This particular time, the whole family came, I think, and weekend. And he, Don and I, and Steve were out fishing. And, never mind, I'll tell this one.
I didn't say a word.
And Don was putting a minnow on, or a worm, on Steve's hook. And I was sitting on one end of the boat, and the other two guys were on the Don's side. So, all of a sudden, Steve had his pole across his lap, and Don was at the hook end, putting the worm on. All of a sudden, Steve turned, and the hook went into his thumb, into Don's thumb.
Under the thumbnail.
Yeah. So Doris is freaking out, and I said, just a minute, I'll go and get my kit, and I'll pull that sucker out of there.
Dirty old pliers.
And she says, no, take him to the hospital, take him to the hospital. So Don and I, Albany is about 5-6 miles away, and they have a hospital there, and it's open. So we take him up there, and the doctor sees us, and he says, damn, he says, fish hooks and dogs bites. That's all I get. He's on call for the weekend. So he takes him to the little room, and I'm out in the hall, and I'm looking at this, and he gives him a Novocaine, and the Novocaine swells up on his thumb, looked like it's just a ping pong ball on there.
Marshmallow or something.
Yeah.
Big.
It swelled up that big, so I could yank the fish hook out without any hurting him down. And I was out in the hallway laughing, because it looks so funny. You see a ping ball sitting on the edge of your thumb. It is funny, you know. He's standing there.
Why were you throwing up then?
So we got him all fixed up, and we went out and we talked to the receptionist there at the doorway, and Don says, "How long you open?" He says, "We might be back. We're open 24 hours."
That was the end of that.
So the guy says, Don says, "How much do we owe you?" $10. So Don says, trying to get that $10 out of me for the last 50 years.
I never did get paid.
I tell him, it was your kid that did it.
Look, I had $10 on me.
Yeah, right. Well, you're always loaded, Don.
Yeah.
Going down, you know, we had a small cabin, of course, Don knows that, we get up once in a while. And a bunch of us stayed there overnight one time, and I think it was during cards.
19 people.
Yeah, well, we had cards every month at different places, so this time we had it at the lake. And we all went to sleep. Middle of the night, Don gets up, steps over a couch, across the top of the couch, and down again, and around the cabin.
All the bodies laying around.
And right back to sleep again. There he's sleepwalking. So, another time, he was at the lake with the family, and he got up early. He was going to cast for fish off the dock. He was dressed up. We were going to go to church that morning. It was Sunday. So then he's on the dock casting away. All of a sudden, he put too much into the cast, and he's lost his footing, and fell. He's going to fall into the lake. So instead of that, he jumped into the lake. So then he comes squish, squish, squish over to the door. It's a screen door there, and Doris, Doris, oh, what do you want? I need some dry clothes. I fell in the lake.
What?
What?
It was about 5 o'clock in the morning.
Yes, it was.
Oh my God. You got an extra.
You can look.
You got an extra hour?
Try to hard.
Harvey, Mel, Phil, Glenn, Betty, Dorothy, Lucille, Jackie, Jim, Dick, Dave, Don, Russ, Ken, Bob. 15 kids.
Growing up.
Yep.
Don,
I was.
well, Elaine says you're the good one.